I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, November the 14th, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Bimeda. Macrocin is a bold, straight-shooting telithromycin injection that does what it's supposed to do for you, for your cattle, and for your bottom line, with no BS. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards, where they're going to be up and going by 6 o'clock here this Monday morning. Most of you hadn't seen this report by then, but 8,500 head on offer, including 30 straight loads of true yearling cattle and another 1,200 heifers off the Evans Ranch, weighing from 7.5 to 8.5. So really nice offering of cattle at Joplin Regional Stockyards here today on Monday. Go to dvauction.com. You can view and bid that sale right there. Next Monday, they've got kind of a yearling special. They're going to have 12,000 cattle in or roundabout next Monday with 7,000 true yearling cattle on there, and you can't find them nowhere, guys. So that's going to be quite a treat for Joplin next week for the yearling special. Also this Friday, November the 18th, they've got their Show Me Select replacement heifer sale. So if you guys are included in that, especially small producers looking for some premium quality replacement heifers, that's a good place for you to go. Packers defeat the Cowboys, and if you guys hadn't kept up or weren't paying attention over this last week, your Packers beat the Cowboys, and you're thinking, what? This is the Cowboys' year. This is the time that they're supposed to make hay. They're coming off a bye week. Everything's lining up for them. I mean, the Cowboys are really good right now, and the Packers suck. There's no way that the Packers beat the Cowboys. Everything's lined up against them. How could they beat the Cowboys? America loves the Cowboys. Everybody wants to be a Cowboy. And you say, well, but the Packers, they're older and wiser. They had home field advantage. But then when you really get to looking, you think, well, if you look down underneath the surface, you see that the Cowboys coaches and their main representatives are actually Packers at heart. You think, what? Yeah, the main guys that are kind of coaching and telling the Cowboys what to do and representing them and everything, they're really working for the Packers. They're not going to advertise that fact, but they're Packers at heart. Absolutely. If you don't believe it, just take a look, guys. But I hope you guys kind of see the analogy in that. But that's the end of my sports part of this talk. In your fat cattle market last week, the Packers outdueled the Cowboys, talked them into taking steady money once again, despite extremely tight supplies of market-ready cattle. Your box beef cutout values have been going up. There's extremely good demand for our beef products at every level. But for some reason, the cattle feeders continue to take steady money. Now, your weighted average in your 5-area feeding region is going to be a little higher, not a dollar higher, but it's going to be some higher this week compared to last week because they just bought so many more of the cattle in the northern plains because they're wanting those better grading cattle than they did in the southern plains. And of course, the northern plains is trading at a premium to the south, but just kind of unbelievable that we're not gaining any market position as we're going through this, and we're on the back side of the best time for us to really gain ground. Another news, we had a midterm election about a week ago. We're just now getting to the point where the powers that be are kind of deciding how they wanted that to turn out. So it looks like we're likely not going to have a Republican majority in the Senate now. It's funny how that kind of comes around. We had a lady that was running or is running for governor in Arizona that has said she is going to revamp the election system. She is going to stop illegal immigration, and she is going to get things straightened out. And man, she was winning big time in the polls and things before we had the election. But man, the longer this thing drags out, and like I said, it's been about a week already, it's not looking good for her. So, but we cannot say that we don't trust these elections. Oh my God, I would never say something like that. We cannot be an election denier, and there's no crooked shit that goes on in that. No way. Never. That would never happen. I talked to my friend Jim Modis that lives up in the Midwest, and he brought to my attention that they had a replacement female sale at Russell Livestock in Russell, Iowa. That's one of those premium type sales up there, sitting in an area where you got a lot of farmer feeders, you've got some cow-calf producers, you've got some of the best cattle that you find in the Midwest, and it's really a premium type sale. You can watch it on dvauction.com, and those guys are aggressive, and they're good, and they're proactive and progressive thinking. But I tell you what, I see something that doesn't make a lot of sense there. Jim's told me a quote on about a load of some of the best replacement heifers that they had in that sale, or actually the best bred heifers that they had in that sale. They come from the Iowa correctional system, the prison system there, and the quality is outstanding. They were second stagers, but that just goes right along with about where everybody wants to do things in that area. Good bred heifers weighing around 950 pounds on the average, so that's plenty good at that stage. They'll be bigger before they calve. Only bringing $1,710 to $1,750 per head. And that shocked me. I figured it'd be way over 2,000 a head. We're at a time where we're at the bottom of a supply cycle. We're going to be really short. We are really short of calf factories. The cow numbers have been dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. It's just that people don't have a place to put them. You'd think there would be a stock field or somewhere around there that they could turn those bred heifers out. But they also had young pairs, excellent quality. Young pairs, like 3 to 5 year old pairs, weighing 13.5 to 1,500, all black and as good as you'd want, bringing 2135 to 2150. Now those are the highest they had on the best quality that they had. Both of those look like a much better investment than some big heavy feeders to put in the lot, especially since we're not gaining any ground in market position, and you know, and you can't cover yourself completely hedging those cattle because the cost of gains are out of sight. But I tell you what, guys, if you're going to stay in the business, and likely when all this unfolds, we're going to have fewer players again, just like we always do. But if you're going to stay in the business, the opportunity is there, and we're just not seeing very many. We're starting to see some heifers being kept in the northern plains, South Dakota, and places like that. Every time I go to sale, there's fewer heifers of that calf crop than there are steers. But in other areas, I'm just not seeing them keeping enough heifers back, buying replacement quality heifers, or trying to secure some of these good quality replacements whenever they see them for sale. Let's talk about our board for last week, December live cattle futures. Monday was up $1.40, Tuesday was unchanged, Wednesday down $1.47, Thursday up $1.50, Friday took all that back and a little more, down $1.55. December contracts on live cattle ended the week at $150, $152. That's going to be more than $1 under what our weighted average is going to be, but it was down 13 cents for the week. February ended the week at $153 1/4. And that's down $1.12. So no confidence in your live cattle futures. Why? Because your cattle feeders are not gaining any ground during this opportunity to gain market position. Once they got to 150, they're like, oh my gosh, we got to 150, and they decided that that was enough, I guess. But November feeder cattle, Monday was up at 40 cents, Tuesday was up a nickel, Wednesday down 55, Thursday up 90, Friday down $1.67. November feeder cattle ended the week at 176.95, down 87 cents for the week. January ended the week at 178.57, under what November is, but that was down $1.05 for the week. But these cost of gains and the availability of feed is just It's really killing the demand for these feeder cattle in a time where we thought that, people would be really going after them. But again, the cost of gains, availability of feed, no forage, and it's just going to cost so much to feed these cattle. And a lot of the guys that are buying some of the top quotes are fooling themselves if they think they can get those cattle fed for under $1.50 a pound. Let's talk about our grain futures. Chicago Board of Trade corn, $6.58 ending the week. That was down 23 cents for the week, and we saw that was mostly due to Mexico deciding that they don't want any GMO corn anymore from us because they're so particular. Beans, $14.55 and a half at the end of the week, and that was up 4 cents. Your fat cattle trade up through Thursday, 76,400 head had traded in your 5-area feeding region, pure negotiated cash. Had a little bit of trade on Friday, but not much. It's not going to be a whole lot more than that. But your live sales of steers and heifers last week in your 5-area feeding region were steady to a buck higher, from 149 to 156, but largely steady there. Your weighted average on live steers, 150-269. That is up, but it's up 71 cents. And like I said, just because more cattle traded in the northern plains by far than in the southern plains on a negotiated basis, so your weighted average is going to be higher. Dress sales were just steady though, mostly steady, from 237 to 244. Weighted average on a dressed steer in the 5-area feeding region, 241.30. That's down 60 cents. So that takes off what your live was up on the weighted average, but down 60 cents compared to last week. Friday, we had a little bit of trade. Of course, we don't get to see what happens in Colorado. Iowa had 1,600 head confirmed, 36,400 head for the week. Your live price in Iowa confirmed on Friday was 150 to 153, so no better. But it was interesting. I did see on there was 900 that sold live delivered at 157, mostly 157.50. Wow, where'd those cattle come from? Just shows you how much this freight makes a difference. And I told you that the guys in extreme western Nebraska were having a hard time getting their cattle marketed. It was mostly due to freight issues. Packers wanted the cattle, but they didn't want to go out there and buy those cattle FOB and haul them all the way back to their plants. But this freight is a big deal. As we go through this inflation, more things are becoming a big deal. Freight's one of them. Interest is another. Dress sales in Iowa, 242 confirmed on Friday. Nebraska, about 900 head confirmed on Friday, just under 25,000 for the week. Live sale 153, dress sale 242. Kansas didn't have anything confirmed on Friday, just 9,300 head for the week. Texas, just about 3 loads or so confirmed on Friday at 150, which was the market all week. 8,600 head for the week. Box beef cutout values were kind of mixed. Choice was down, select was up, and I'm talking about all of last week. Your weighted average for all of last week's sales on choice cuts, 263.77. That was down 46 cents compared to the weighted average from the previous week when it was up so much. But man, choice fell hard late last week, and your late Friday afternoon quote for choice cuts was $5 below what your weighted average was for last week at just under 256. Select was up though. Weighted average on last week's sales, 235.86, up $2.80, and your late week quotes was about the same as what the weighted average was. But that trimmed down your choice select spread, which had been running well over $30 here of late, but down to $27.41 on your weighted average there. But and you see that the purchasers of those products are pulling back a little bit. Just 560 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings last week in your spot box beef market. Slaughter for last week, very aggressive again. 671,000, 4,000 more than the previous week, and 12,000 more than the same week a year ago. Right in the face of extremely tight supplies and in a mostly steady market. Wow, explain that. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV auction. Based on an 800-pound steer, cash price up through your middle 12 states. Ended the week at 173.01. That was down $2.61 compared to the end of the previous week. So we see that our index levels are lower. Cash feeders and your sales, they ended about steady to $3 lower, but started the week higher, steady to $3 higher early in the week. Turned $2 to $4 lower later in the week. After your board on Wednesday especially was down pretty good, and we started seeing that feedlots were not going to gain any more ground or any market position on your fat cattle. I would assume that your big high volume sales on Monday here are going to start the week steady to a little bit cheaper because they were above that what happened there mid to late week. Calves though, basically the same trend, just a wider range. They were higher early in the week last week and then began to sag and were more lower down late in the week. But your calves are just struggling because there's no place to turn those calves out, and it's going to cost a lot of money even just to background those calves. Talk about your sales late last week and over the weekend. How about Fort Scott Livestock Market in Fort Scott, Kansas on Saturday had 2,200 head of feeders. Now their trend was kind of the opposite of what we saw nationwide. Their calves were higher, but they had better quality calves and more of them than they did the previous Saturday. And feeders were cheaper, but gosh, I did see one impressive quote on feeders out of Fort Scott, Kansas. 113 head, 967 pound feeder steers bring 168.50. Your Zoetis stick out sale of the day was at Fort Pierre Livestock Auction in Fort Pierre, South Dakota. 5,600 head, and you think that was a lot. Well, the wintry weather conditions curbed their seats some, and they had several cancellations there. That's how many cattle they get in that market there every Friday. But calves were mixed, mostly lower though. A lot of 4 to 6 lower in there, but there was some unevenness in there. You look at this, these reports that I pulled here, which is steer and heifer calves in drafts of 100 head or more, which is enough to really tell what the market is. And you can tell even on the heifers and on the steers both, your best tested weights are mostly in the 5 weights, but those big drafts of 100 head or more were all over $2. There's some replacement heifers in there. It's the only one that wasn't over $2 that was over 100 head was that one bunch of heifers you see there that weighed 563 at 185. But top quote another top quote that I saw out of Fort Pierre was up towards the top there, 108 head of steers weighed 523 at 230.50. That's the most that 5-weight steers have brought this fall. Is 230, just a penny or two above or below, but that's the max on them, guys. They did have 60 head of replacement heifers sold for replacement, weighing 610 pounds at 195. Another individual quote that I thought was impressive was Crawford Livestock Market in Crawford, Nebraska. They sell 80 head of steers, weigh 690 at $199. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere late last week or over the weekend in your Mackerson, no BS, top quote for the day was again Fort Pierre Livestock Auction in Fort Pierre, South Dakota. They sold a load of fancy steers, weighed 98 pounds, 600 pound weight at $214.50. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.